Well. Firstly, I want to say a happy bank holiday to all you lovely listeners. An emergency show has been called by the Saturn Broadbent Lounge following the news of Jody Morris and Ed Brand's departure from Swindon Town Football Club. Also, a slight change in voice today. Unfortunately, Hannah's couldn't make tonight's show, so you're stuck with yours truly for the rest of the show. Joining me today, we have Joe. How are you, Joe?
Hello, mate. Nice to hear your voice in the Sunwaves, Ellis.
Yeah, you too, Joe. You too. How's Denmark?
Yeah, it's good, mate. I was enjoying a nice quiet day today. I was kind of, I've had a few too many beers this week. I needed to have a quiet one, and Swindon Town have gone and ruined it for me. So,
Yeah, as always.
thank you very much, Swindon.
We have Adam.
Hiya, mate. You alright?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad at all.
Good. We have Martin.
Hello.
How are you, Martin?
The sun is out. Gabz is the biggest Swindon Town Football Club meme right now. And I cannot wait to hear him, the fan and podcaster himself, live from the trenches. I am so excited.
The trenches have been absolutely bombed to pieces.
Gabz, on you. I want to hear you.
Mate, drowning in mud over here. Oh, dear.
Come on then, Gabz. It's probably only fair we let you go first.
Oh, dear.
I mean, instant thoughts.
Well,
how many bullet holes are there?
Well, but before we get into the thought, shall I read out the statement that the club put out?
Yes, good idea.
So, Swindon Town can today confirm it is part of company with first team head coach Jody Morris and his assistant Ed Brand. Morris, 44, was appointed at the end of January in what was his first senior management role in the game, and was later followed to the county ground by assistant Ed Brand in early March. We would like to thank both Jody and Ed for their contribution and efforts since joining the football club, and wish them all the very best in the future. Our aim when they took over was to push on and finish the second half of the season strongly, but as a club we haven't achieved our objectives. With just one more league game remaining before we reach the conclusion of the season, we feel now is the right time to take a fresh approach as we look to bring success back to the great club for 2023 to 2024. Right, so thoughts then, team. Gabz, do you want to go first?
What is the point in sacking a manager with one game to go? What is the point?
Thing is, have they sacked him because there's an opportunity that's come up? That's the way it looks to me. So I honestly, I'd be absolutely flabbergasted if we see a massive delay in an appointment. I reckon they've got one lined up, so they've just sacked him now. It's got to be the way.
Yeah, 100%. I think, well, you never know with Swindon Town. I mean, we took what? I can't remember the exact amount of time we took to appoint Morris. Even Scott Lindsay at the start of the season.
Well, Morris was like all of January, wasn't it? That's what fucked us.
So you'd like to think they've got someone lined up.
Yeah,
surely.
I mean,
surely.
It's just we've just got to get this one right. I mean, Gabz, I know you're a Chelsea lad, but I mean that was an absolute disaster, was it not?
What's worse than disaster? Yeah, I mean,
I don't think we can even use John Sheridan as a meme anymore.
Statistically, isn't he the worst Swindon manager we've ever had?
Yep.
And I'll tell you what's funny. Like, this absolutely blew my mind. Ed Brand has gone. John McGrew lasted longer than Ed Brand. Ed Brand's come here, lost a few games, got sent off, then sacked, and probably going to go back to Chelsea.
Bloody hell! Honestly, the interview that we did in the BBC just looks funnier and funnier.
Honestly, if they even ask us to come along again, they can fuck off.
Gabz, we're not possible put at the watershed.
Yeah. Now you've got to put explicit against this show now. Like,
it was always going to be that way.
Oh.
Joe, you got away with it. It's only Gabz that looks like the worst person because he's the one that said the quote, and it's his face and it's him on the video that is going around. And I don't think I've been this happy for a long time.
Yeah, I got away with one. I mean, I did say I thought he was the man to get us promoted. But,
I generally thought we'd make playoffs. I generally was like, yeah, Austin captain, Morris, yeah, experience, raise standards. Yeah, we'll make playoffs there, easily.
I don't believe how bad it's gone. Like, it's just physically impossible.
The thing is, I think we were fifth. I think with when Scott Lindsay left.
Yeah.
It's really gone downhill. And obviously the return of Scott Lindsay, coming around the corner.
He is going to be absolutely pissing himself, isn't he?
Yeah,
I guarantee
exactly.
you. You know what? Knowing how he is, I'll put a fiver at now. I guarantee you, he'll do a smug lap of honour at the end as well.
Can we organise this?
Yeah.
Just make sure it does happen. Guys, I've added Lewis onto the show as well. Lewis wanted to get involved with the discussion. So, Lewis, mate, welcome to the Storm Broadbent Lounge. What are your instant thoughts off the back of that just shit show?
Yeah, to be fair, I think, I'm quite surprised.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting it coming, but our performances since he's come in have been shocking.
I think ultimately it's a performance-based business, isn't it? And results, they matter. So
yeah, I mean, and if you look in some of his press conferences, some of the things he said in his press conferences, it's like it just doesn't. He just sounds like he didn't want to be here.
yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? I think we've gone from having some really passionate managers. You've got the likes of Richie Wellens, obviously was successful here, but even Scott Lindsay to an extent was passionate, passion merchant, some might say. It's just, I think Swindon fans need a certain type of character to be able to latch onto. I don't think Jody ever did it for us.
Yeah,
I following from that, Joe, as well. The stuff that Morris is coming out with in the press conferences does make you question things. The win away at Wimbledon. You can improve off a performance. You always can, even if you go win 10-0. There's still things you can work on. But he's slating the players. That's our first big win in terms of goals scored in quite a while, and he's just there slating the players.
Yeah, the other problem I think I've got is also, which fans might hate me for it, but I think more importantly it's the backroom stuff that's got to be sorted out, because you look at it, since we've had Sandra come in, we've had no one but rubbish players come in, and I also feel like we've had false promise from Clem. He said that there'd be transparency, I think, but ever since Morris has come in, there's been no transparency or anything, and I feel like the fans have been stuff that they're not getting.
Yeah, it poses another question as well. With the appointment of Sandro, Sandro was the first person to claim ownership of the fact that he brought in Jody Morris. Sandro was telling everyone he brought him in. He's a top coach, and it hasn't worked. So surely we've got to be looking at Sandro as well, and the appointment that he made in Jody Morris.
It's one of those ones as well, though. Like, I don't think you can appoint any old manager in League Two. I think Jody Morris can be the best coach in the world, but unless you know the division and the nuances that come with actually being successful against teams that are going to beat the crap out of you for 90 minutes, like, you just, what can you do? You need a manager that's ideally played and coached in this division and been successful in it. I just think we said this last time, but it's a massive appointment, this. Like, I don't think that Clem can actually, he can't deal with another disaster. It needs to be good.
They have to get it right next season. I mean, they've sacked the manager early. Hopefully, they've got someone lined up. Hopefully, I am on my knees. Sandro follows. So just a reset button needed. Pre-season, work out, get some new players in, try and make some money for some players, and get going. Because at the moment, if things stay the same, season tickets aren't being sold. Simple as that.
This needs to be a really impressive appointment, because ultimately, as you say, Gabz, season tickets are going to be vital to what our budget looks like for next year. If we go and appoint bloody, I don't know, Carl Robinson, it's going to leave a bad taste at the start, isn't it?
Yeah, you pose another good point there, Joe. Especially with the manager needing a certain type of manager to get out of League Two. The same could be said about the players. You can't just have under 21 players playing in League Two and expect us to get automatic promotions or even playoffs. I mean, we've got Charlie Austin, a proven top level striker, and he's started on the bench in the past 4 games.
I mean, that's criminal.
Yeah.
Whatever way you look at it, you've got Charlie Austin in League 2, and you're making him sit on the bench in his bloody hoodie. Like,
he scored 4 goals against Rochdale, and I know Rochdale are sort of bottom of the barrel. I know they've got relegated, but it still takes them doing to score 4 goals in 1 game, and you can't even argue that he's being rested because it's 4 games in a row now.
Yeah, it's indefensible. I mean, Gabz, there's another one for you there, mate. Like, we talk about you wanted to run through the trenches with him, and being under a spell of positivity, and you feeling like you could play for the bloke or run for the guy and kill yourself for him. Surely the players in that squad aren't feeling the same way.
Oh, I mean, mate, literally
on a base level.
Mate, literally at Tranmere, I went down to pitch level, and you could just hear them all screaming and arguing with each other, and like it was ridiculous. Like the players clearly hate each other. They clearly hate the manager as well.
I'm not sure they hate each other.
Mate, I think they do. I really think the players don't get on, mate. I really think the players don't get on. Like last season, how much would people see him around the town? Players socialising together, always posting things when they're not training together. Get none of that this season. I generally don't think many of the players get on.
The thing is, there's a big thing for me, I think, where a coach needs to be able to motivate their players and to sort of set that environmental atmosphere from the top. And I don't think it happened. I think, say what you want about Scott Lindsay, I do think that he probably was a little bit more nurturing and maybe a little bit more man management focused than what we've had with Jody. Obviously, without the level of coaching, I'm sure is probably far and away better with Jody. But it's just a tough one. I think the club's put themselves in a really, really sticky situation.
Big time.
I'm not sure, other than finishing bottom or getting relegated this season, it probably couldn't have gone worse.
Scott Lindsay's essentially kept us up, really. Well, even though, to be honest, I think results are probably heading that way when he left. I think he probably realised that, hence why he jumped.
Yeah,
look who we stopped. We got rid of Gladwin, Reed, McDonald, 3 of like your core experienced players.
I think this is where we need to get an experienced. We need to get an experienced manager in this now, and then he can spend the entire transfer window basically signing experience only, because you've got a squad that's got a core of players that are still on 2 or 3 year deals. Now, as a football club, it's just not going to be at all doable to just start again and get rid of a load of players. You're going to have to build up with them.
The thing is,
you've got players in the squad still that I think they've got a lot of potential. They just need
I agree
the
with
right environment.
you know what annoys me more, right? I look at some of them and I think, you know what? If you left town, I could see you in like 2-3 years just coming back and absolutely haunting us and scoring against us and whatnot, and I'm putting in like a 10 out of 10 against us. It's just that most of them have never played professional football before.
It's honestly, I know you got your likes of like Jake Wakelin, who's has critics or whatever. Ultimately, he's got the most goals and assists of any player his age in the Football League. It's like, statistically on paper, he's playing in a poor team and he's overperforming. I just think with the right players around, there's players like that. Even the likes of Jay Kane, who I think has had games where he's gone a bit anonymous, but I think there's a player in there. We just need to have a manager at the front of it who's going to be strong, but also nurturing. I think on a human side, the squad probably needs a bit of a cuddle. And then you add experienced players to it, and I don't think we're a million miles away. It's just we've got to get everything right to the absolute finest detail.
Who's making the appointment though? Is it Sandro making the appointment? Is it Clem? Who's doing it? It's not very clear. I think Sandro. Do we trust that he's going to make a right one after what a mess he's made recently?
I can't imagine Sandro's been allowed. I don't know if he's still here. Then I guess he's had an input, but I'm sure that he's probably had his wings cut a little bit. Surely.
Yeah, I reckon so. Because normally he'd comment on the manager leaving, wouldn't he? Didn't he make a few words about when Lindsay left?
Yeah, when Lindsay went,
true.
And that's the thing. If Clem's fired Morris and got rid of Morris and Brand, then surely Sandro's got to go. And even if Sandro himself has, cocked this up big time, then he's messed up the appointment in the players, and selling Gladwin, Reed, McDonald, and bringing in. Well, he didn't even bring in Charlie Austin. It was Clem. I think Sandro's got to go, and then there's got to be big changes within the club. Do we go down the sort of traditional manager route, and let the manager bring in the players that they want, or do we bring in another sort of director of football?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I saw. My worry is that it's going to be the same as this pre-season where we're waiting, and then we end up with no players and no manager at the start of the season. We're going to be back to square one again. That's my.
I can't imagine that it will go that way. If I'm honest, I think the club's learned from their mistakes. If they've sacked the manager early before the start of pre-season, surely they've just learned from it, and I don't think it will be the same, mate.
To fair, I feel like in my eyes, there's only two managers who I want in, but one of them could be a bit, But I think there's only two out there at the moment that catch my eye.
Who you go for?
The first one is David Artell.
Yeah.
Because at Crewe he worked with a little budget. He got the best out of the young players, and he still got them promoted. And the other one, which I think might be a bit controversial, but I've seen other fans saying about it, is Darryl Clark.
No.
Honestly, I was hoping that you wouldn't say Carl Robertson, Darryl Clark, or Graham Potter.
No.
So
Graham Potter.
I think Artell could be a shout. I mean, Artell is probably one where you don't need a director of football to work with him, because he worked under those situations and circumstances at Crewe where he ran the ship on his own.
Yeah, and like you said, Joe, he's sort of a proven manager at this level, and he knows he's not coming in blind.
I also think as well, I think Artell probably gets the best out of Charlie Austin. Like, there's something about the way that his teams play. He plays with a proper number 9, and if you place Charlie Austin's strengths and play him in that position, I mean, the guy's scoring easy 20 goals a season in this league.
Well, I'll put this to all of you. Charlie Austin is player manager, yes or no?
Nope.
No.
Coach,
No.
coach, not manager.
Yeah.
Strong no from everyone there then.
Yeah,
I think he's still doing his badges. He's got a hell of a lot of knowledge in football, but that doesn't always translate into actual coaching. Like, same with when people want to pull Caddis. I would love it one day if he was manager, but go get experience first in lower leagues and work your way up. You can't just throw in a 33-year-old into his first manager role in a club which has been a complete car crash.
Player manager doesn't work. Full stop.
No.
The thing is,
I
think Charlie probably offers that on the training pitch anyway, because he'll be talking to the players when he's on the pitch and guiding them through games and whatnot. So
that's what a captain does. That's completely different to a manager.
Yeah, no.
As a manager, mate, like as a manager, someone's on the touchline. They're looking at the game. They've got the assistant manager. They're talking amongst each other. What needs to change on this pitch? A captain, all right, he's shouting his orders. But he doesn't see the full game from that perspective that you do on the touchline. And that's where you need someone who sort of like knows what they're doing. I've got to put my 10 pence in now with this Jody now that I'm on. But this whole thing with Jody, I think it's either gone one of two ways. One being he's come in and he's trying to manage players that he doesn't know. Like, imagine becoming a manager at a new company and you don't know any of your employees. You've got to get to know them, how they work, where their strengths and weaknesses are. And he hasn't, I don't think, had the time to do that. He would have probably been better off being appointed at the start of the season and building the squad that he wanted without Sandro's 50 pence. And it's either that or the fact that Jody's come from the Premier League and he's tried to employ Premier League standards and Premier League tactics into League Two football. And League One and League Two is a completely different game to the Premier League. Completely different style of play.
It's not comparable.
Completely different football. It's nowhere near comparable. Like all this possession base we were doing, loving the fact that we was having like 70% possession every week, but still losing 1-0. All right, that works in the Premier League because they,
that does not work for Chelsea. I say now.
Like well, yeah, but you know what I mean. Like the top, like Premier League gets boring to watch. because it's just so much passing around. But they can do that. They can ping a ball from one wing to the other in one pass and make that pass and set up the play like that. That doesn't happen in League Two. Every time we ping the ball across the pitch, it takes 6 passes to get there.
I mean, look at Stevenage. I think Stevenage is a perfect example. Just the way they came in, clear identity.
It's a completely different game. And Jody, all right. Yeah, I personally think he would have been okay he would have been better with a squad that he wanted. But I'm telling you now, all these problems come back to Sandro.
I think that annoys me the most about this Morris thing is like the bloke's got connections in football. The bloke's probably more experienced of being a director of football than Sandro. Yet he was appointed one day before deadline day.
100%.
Like,
honestly, I'm telling you now, Sandro's got Power's hand up his ass. That's how it seems. Like 20-year-olds do not win games in League Two. It is a big boys' league with big. It's the fat strikers and the fat centre backs that aren't like quick enough for the Championship anymore. That they have to sit there in League Two. It's an aggressive league. It's borderline Sunday league compared to the Premier League. Like you need some big lads, big like strong blokes.
Even if you look at teams like, Leyton Orient under Richie Wellens is still a good football team, but they've got players like Darren Prattley and you've got Omar Beckles as well. You've got these big lads that have spent a lot of time in this division. Just essentially kicking and hitting it.
Look at every team that slaps us.
Yeah.
How often, like this season, like who's come up from the National League? Was it Stockport?
Stockport
players,
and Grimsby.
Yeah.
Stockport and Grimsby. All right, we beat Grimsby 5-0.
Only team we did a double over Grimsby, actually.
Well, there you go. But like Stockport absolutely bullied us in the FA Cup. That's a team that's just come up from the National League. And they've bullied us. Do you know
wait
what
till you see the champions next season. Christ.
Yeah, we've got bigger issues next season. I think.
What I mean. Yeah, but even when you look at Wrexham on the telly, look at the size of their players.
Yeah, they done exactly what they needed to do. They brought in players to get out of that league. I know they spent a lot of money, but something's not right. Something's not working. And change needs to come. Hannah's, good evening. Are you there?
Good evening. Hey, listen, right, for my 2 penners worth, I'm going to talk about 2 personalities. I'm going to give you a 2-legged affair here. I'm going to talk about Sandro and I'm going to talk about Jody. I think the first thing in relation to Sandro, if we're going to start pointing fingers or apportioning blame or all the rest of it, we've talked about recruitment on this show on so many occasions. The facts are, at the point Jody Morris came in, we were working off the back of all of Sandro's players that he brought in the pre-season period, and indeed that Scott Lindsay allegedly gave the green light to. Rightly or wrongly, those players got us on the verge of the playoffs, even though the football was bilge. And up until the point that Jody was brought in, I got to a stage where I was like, look, I wanted Scott to be given a proper crack at a whip, but I felt that he'd been given that, and it just wasn't good enough. So I kind of understood Morris coming in, like anybody, you sort of saying to yourself, well, what's his first 100 days going to look like? So Morris in the job, his first 100 days, is he going to be any good? Are we going to see any kind of improvement? The one thing I wanted to see from Jody Morris was I wanted to see the players that Scott Lindsay had just get better. I wanted to see players get coached. I wanted to see their performances get better. I wanted to see the most made of having a rare gem in Charlie Austin up front at this standard. I wanted to see us play to his strengths, because you get the ball into him, the ball's going to hit the back of the net. And what I've actually seen over the course of Jody Morris's tenure is a group of players just decline, get progressively worse, become more and more fragile, seem to completely lose the ability to defend. And if we go back to, the big failings in relation to sorry boys, you still got me, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
So the big failings in relation to recruitment is what one of the things that really cracks me up is we talk about losing our experience. We talk about the selling of McDonald, the selling of Reedy, the selling of Gladwin, the marginalisation now of Charlie Austin, but nobody really talks about the injury to Matt Bowdery. And whilst that's nobody's fault, if there was ever a reason to want to keep your experience in the building, it's when we lost Matt Bowdry. Like, you've essentially lost, you've lost one of your most important dressing room figures. And then what you go and do? Well, you go and then sell a player who plays alongside him at the back. Not as experienced, but certainly right up there in the experience ranks. And then what do you do? Well, then you go and get rid of Gladwin and you go and get rid of Reedy. Like, the whole thing's a total shambles. But fundamentally, is it the right thing to have done to have got rid of Jody? Yeah, 100%. And I've given you the reasons for that. The players have got worse under his watch. If he is anywhere near as good a coach as I was told he was, I was told that he was an elite level coach. Like, do me a favour. If he's an elite level coach, how is it you've got technically good footballers like Ronan Darcy, Saidu Khan, the Jake Kanes of this world? These are guys that should be able to get the ball down, play with ease, but crucially get better week by week. I expect to see improvement week by week. We're just not seeing it. So, I'm sorry, but anyone that's, crying out for, Jody to have been given more time, this, that, and the other, like, I'm sorry, but we cannot sustain this level of bilge. It's as simple as it is. I mean, for me,
I think the biggest thing, the easiest way to describe it, Hannah, is that I can't tell you what a Jody Morris football team looks like.
No, it's absolutely right. This is the thing. I mean, everyone was coming out the ground after Wimbledon and like all smiling. I genuinely walked out the ground after Wimbledon. I was just like, I don't know whether I've seen a different game here to what everyone else has seen, but we've basically been gifted 3 goals. And this team that we've played against are possibly one of the worst 3 or 4 teams I've seen in the last 2 years. And they're on the beach. It was so obvious from their appearance. And their fans were telling me before the game that they were going to get dicked by 4 or 5, as ended up being the case. So, yeah, listen, I mean, for me, I think his lack of man management and coaching has been woefully exposed. And I think you don't have to be a genius to just look at, some of his selections, look at the way that these lads play, look at the impact of his substitutions on games. I mean, what have we lost? What's the stat? 14 points from winning positions. I think it's 14, or is it 11? I'm sure it's 14 points from winning positions, going into the last 5 or 10 minutes of games.
I was about to say, it's the last minute goals that are killing us this year. It's completely abject.
Right, now tell me this, guys. You've got 5 or 10 minutes left in a game. You've got to kind of see that out. Surely, if you are tactically astute, you can set up like that. That is when the pressure is on you as a manager to set up your team to ensure that you don't fold within the last 5 minutes, 10 minutes, if you're going to include stoppage time. That is your gift. And how many times under his watch has that happened? I'm sorry, it's just not good enough. It's just not good enough. And I'll tell you what, credit, whilst I'm hacked off with some of the decisions that have been made this year by our football club, I actually tip my hat to this particular decision. But I'm only going to tip my hat to this particular decision if this is one of 2 or 3 changes that have to happen on the performance side of our football club. Because quite frankly, the performance side of our football club this year has been nothing shy of a shambles. And I will say this as well. This is without doubt, and I've got the best part of 40 years tenure following this football club. This is without doubt the most disengaged I have ever felt following this football club. And I say that as somebody that has hosted a show on Twitter Spaces that has mushroomed this year. I say that as someone that's been on the pitch with the microphone. I say that as someone that's got a season ticket in the town end. And I say that as someone that takes his family every single week. It is a shambles.
Well, I'll say this with utmost confidence now. The idea of sacking him today, it will not take long for us to have a replacement. The fact that the club's done it with a game left, and they're saying at the bottom, announcement due shortly. They've got a plan in place. I think after speaking to Rob before one of the games, I can't remember which one it was, when he come up to us in the Arcles and he said, we got it wrong this year, and we're going back to the drawing board and we're going to make changes. Yeah, the manager needs to change. I'm 100% with that. But at the end of the day, I'm still going to point my fingers at Sandro. We got rid of our recruitment, all right? We got rid of our experience. We know that. I wouldn't have been so hacked off with it if we didn't let him go for pennies. Like, we got absolutely nothing out of those transfers. And we didn't even have the money. Like, you could have replaced them if you got a few quid for them, but we didn't. We got absolutely nothing for those players.
The thing is, though, we haven't really seen that, have we? It's been undisclosed, but the sort of rumours
Thing is,
are
yeah.
that it's not loads.
You know,
Thing
word
is,
of
yeah.
mouth. We got virtually nothing for Gladders. I think, you know, it was I've heard people in the town end. I think the most common figure I heard was 10,000.
Yeah, I'm not too sure, mate, to be fair.
Yeah, well, we'll never know. But
you should be disclosing it if you're going to be a transparent club.
But
thing is, though,
you got the leagues. Everyone knows how much every player's gone.
We're blaming Sandro, but let's just go back to the beginning here. So we all knew Garner was going to Charlton. That took, 3-4 weeks to announce? Then to appoint Lindsay, that's taken, best of a month and a half to announce? Bear in mind he's internal. Then the departure of Lindsay's taken about 3 weeks to announce. Then we've hired a manager on, deadline day? Essentially January deadline day? So all of these decisions are taking ages, but let alone before Sandro was in the door. So
we've had Sandro since the start of the season, have we not?
Yeah, but even before Sandro came in, when Garner left, it took ages to announce.
Yeah, but he's blowing smoke up his own ass, saying that
I'll be honest. I think they all need to be held accountable, for goodness' sake. Why was Sandro? Sandro's a bookie. Got bookie as director of football. It's ridiculous. You need someone that actually knows the game and has experience in the game.
You got Sandro, who's very, very pally with power. Like, you know, they are. It's known that they're good mates. They're both absolute crooks. I'm gonna constantly slate Sandro because he blew smoke up his own ass with the Jody appointment, which took forever. Then the Ed Brand fiasco was an absolute joke as well.
Yeah, if you look at it, when we had Ben Chorley as director of football, also under Wellens, you look at the team he brought in, look at the players he brought in. But now you look at the players, like you said, get rid of the experienced players. I would have minded if we got in maybe more experienced players or players in different experience, but we haven't. We've brought in young players, and yes, okay, young players are good, but you ain't going to win League Two with young players. You need experience in that. And
exactly, we literally got rid of McDonald on deadline day and didn't have another centre back lined up.
Exactly, and I feel like after this season, they said that Williams is out of contract, Austin's out of contract. And my feeling is that people like that are going to leave, and I would like to know in the summer is how are we going to replace someone like Williams and Austin if they do go? How are we going to replace them? Are we going to replace again with more young under 21 players, or are we actually going to replace them with people who have got, league experience? And we need to buy. We all know that we need to spend money in League Two to get out of it, and I feel like Clem knows this himself. This is why the sackings come now, because he knows that if nothing changes soon, it's going to be another season like this season.
Well, I think most people got their opinions off their chest today. I think it was a big statement from the club, and I think the general sort of opinion of people is that Sandro also needs to go. More change within the club needs to happen. So, sort of as a finishing point to this show, I just want to quickly get all of your sort of opinion on who you want as the next manager for Swindon Town. So we'll start with you, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, just going to wrap it up quickly because we don't want to eke into the OSCs on the sofa, which starts at 7, which I'm sure will be very eventful. I think, in my head, the replacement is David Artell. Like, obviously, we were under the impression that Artell was fairly close to the job in January. I think what he did at Crewe in this division on the budget that he had was just really quite impressive. He's managed hundreds of games in the Football League. He's had success. I think he gets the best out of this lot. I think he had a bit of experience to it as well. It gives us the best opportunity to really attack next season. So, yeah, for me, I'd probably say Artell.
Okay, Artell for you. Gabz, what about you?
I'm genuinely staying quiet on this one. I wanted Potter. That didn't work out. Lampard got appointed. I was a bit like, yeah, okay, that's not worked out. One is Morris. I didn't work out. So, yeah, I'm going to stay quiet. Fuck it, let's get the cleaner in.
Adam, what about you?
Right, don't hate me for this one, but I've got my reasons. Despite how poorly they were at the massive jump that they took to the Championship and the dodgy run they had at Portsmouth, with the League Two experience and some of the stuff that they've done at this level, I'd like to see the Cowley brothers have a shot.
I don't think the Cowley brothers is a bad shout. To be fair, I wouldn't mind it.
Yeah, certainly an interesting appointment.
They've got experience at this level. You know, look at the job they did with Lincoln, coming up from the National League up to League One, and they're still sat in League One now.
Yeah,
you know, all right,
that'll be
didn't work out at
pricey. That'll be pricey.
It didn't work out at Huddersfield, and that was a big jump. Portsmouth, I think they inherited what was a sinking ship basically at the point that they were brought in. I think if you give them back in, give them a full pre-season, let them take
want a job
on recruitment
in League Two as well. Will they want a job in League Two?
Well, they're going to have to. They've gone up to. They left Lincoln. They went to Portsmouth. That didn't. Well, they went to Huddersfield. That didn't work because it was too high up, too big of a jump. I think Portsmouth, like I say, it was already a sinking ship. I think you give them a full pre-season, give them some backing, let them take the reins on the players that they want. Like I say, League Two experience. They know what type of players win leagues at this level. I reckon they'd have a good stab at it.
I'd love to be a fly on the wall for that conversation if they had a meeting. Well, sorry, we've blown the budget on sacking Jody Morris, so I'm afraid we can't give you that money.
yeah, very true. Hannes, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Listen, I don't think you can even start to think about who your new manager is going to be until you sort out the situation with your technical director or your director of football. That, for me, is the most important appointment that this club could possibly make, unless the club are going to do what Carlisle did, simplify it and bring in an old school, just good old-fashioned lower league football manager that kind of gets the club, gets the town, got his finger on the pulse with the supporters. I think with the current setup, as Clem has said, Clem has set his stall out and said that is what he wants. I think it's all about, we should be debating who should be, a technical director with the new manager. Is Sandro the right man? I think we all know that he's not. So, who should we be bringing in? Because I'll tell you what, the fact is the football has no quality senior football thinkers at our football club. It simply doesn't. It's got a few people that, are decent in their respective roles, but we are lacking quality senior football thinking and football leadership at our football club. So for me, until you get that sorted, I'm not going to be willing to put a name forward, because the fact is you can't bring a manager in and potentially a couple of weeks later bring a director of football in further down the line. So unless a deal has been done with the current structure to bring someone in above the manager's position, then forget it. I don't think you can start putting names to it yet. But if you're really, just for novelty factor, if you're really going to say, right, who should it be? Then yeah, I'll probably go with the Cowleys at the moment in terms of those that are available. My thoughts. I would have gone Paul Caddis, but Caddis has taken the Hereford job. I would have gone with Caddis. I would have underpinned him with a senior football thinker above him, below him, giving him all the support he needed. Because I think we're that kind of club. I just think I do think there's large portions of our football club that enjoy having someone that's got a bit of a connection with the club. So yeah, I mean, that'd be my shout. Of those that are all available, it's got to be Cowley. But like Christ Football Club, seriously, get your shop in order and sort out a technical director, because it's not sorted out at the moment, is it?
Actually, can someone give Paolo a buzz and see what he's doing?
Yeah, but listen, Adam, in all seriousness, like, everybody always defaults to that, right? Because those were the good old days. But a couple of weeks ago on the show, we looked at, Paolo's expenditure on agents' fees was £500,000. Stockport this year was 250 grand, and they're surging back up the leagues. But with those, realistically, it's not going to happen unless Paolo was to turn around and go, no, do you know what? I don't need the money. But really,
Paolo would genuinely give Angus a heart attack.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. That's the thing, isn't it? Like we all marvelled at the effect that Paolo had front of shop, But backer shop, have we got the structure at our football club at the moment while we're currently in a state of rebuild? And no, we haven't got the infrastructure to manage a Paolo Di Canio figure, have we? Which is so maybe, I mean, that's the other thing, isn't it, about the new manager? You know, are you looking at bringing somebody in that is going to play an active role in actually helping to, build the construct behind the scenes as well? Make recommendations on people that maybe are beyond the performance side, that can support Rob Angus and the team, and can build bridges between the two sides of the club. You know, for want of a better word, the performance side and the non-performance side. Because that, I mean, again, if you're going to go down that road, there are plenty of very experienced football heads. Look at what Bradford have done with Mark Hughes. I could make some laughable suggestions, which I'm not going to make now, but there are a lot of experienced managers from the Mark Hughes management era that are currently out of work that maybe could be talked into joining a football club with a much broader remit. So have a little chew on that one.
Yeah. Well, we've got Lewis. Lewis, have you got your opinion on the manager?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I would, I'd go with Artell as well, but I feel like there is maybe other managers out there. For example, Michael Flynn. Okay, he didn't do very well at Walsall, but you look what he did at Newport. Got him in the playoffs and got him far in cup journeys, and I feel like he could be the sort of person who could also help us as well and might not need as much money as other managers. Whereas I feel like the Cowleys, they would want a lot of money, and I feel like Artell and Michael Flynn would be the right options.
Yeah, okay. So, my point of view, I think Hannah's hit the nail on the head with what he said. I think you can't really bring in a manager until you've sorted out, the footballing side of the club. At the end of the day, if you've got a director of football, a technical director, they need to have a say in what manager they want. Sandro was a big part in bringing Morris in. And so, Sandro's got to go. It's, do we bring in another director of football, a technical director, or do we go down the traditional manager route and just let them sort of, have the say in their the players that they bring in? So exactly like Hannah said, I don't think you can really make a call until we see change higher up in the football club.
Just looking through the comments as well, Ellis, just the different sort of names that have been brought up in the comments. We've got Dave Artell, one from Michael Appleton. I think the Oxford links probably made that one a bit difficult.
Yeah.
What else have we got? We've just got the word trenches. There's Michael Flynn. Where else? What have we got? Flynn, Hatswell. I'm not sure I know who Hatswell is. Di Canio's assistant, Picaretta, obviously gets linked all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, there's also different names there. I think David Artell's the one that's getting the most mentions, probably along with the Cowley brothers. As we said earlier on, you guys are probably right. You can't be, you can't be letting the current man in the position that would be appointing this person. You can't let him do that.
Not at all. He cocked up 2 manager appointments this season.
Yeah,
big time.
So you need to work from the top down. Director of football and then manager.
Bring back
ideally.
Tim Sherwood.
Oh God!
Red Bull Swindon Part 2. Let's do it.
Wow. So I think sort of that rounds up today's show. Pretty much bang on 7:00. It's been an eventful sort of evening.
It's been Swindon Town.
Yeah, exactly, Swindon Town. I believe we got told that there's another announcement due on the end of the previous announcement. I might be wrong.
Yeah, I'd imagine it'd be fairly quick.
Yeah, I think we need one from Clem, possibly Rob. But yeah, is anyone?
We're going to have more announcements than points this season, aren't we? This year, aren't we?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Is there anyone got anything else to add before we wrap it up?
Please stop sending me the trenches video.
Please carry on sending the trenches
Yeah,
video.
you will never live that down,
Gabz.
Gabz. You will never
Honestly,
live that down.
I think Kaus is going to go into cardiac.
Right. So, Joe, do you want to do this end bit? I always forget. Or Hannah's. Anyone. I forget the end bit.
Of course. We have been the Swindon Broadbent Lounge. Please know that anything said on the show is the opinion of us and only us. We're not affiliated with Swindon Town Football Club or the Swindon Broadbent himself. Something along those lines, Ellis.
Yeah. So, thank you all for listening.
Thank you all for listening.
Bye.